Hello, everyone. My name is Wais Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. Now, we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. So, for those listening on the podcast, Apple or Spotify, please leave a rating for the podcast. We've got a bit of a different time scheduling, and we're doing it during our lunch hour this instead of after work this time. And that's to make sure that we can cater for our guest for this week, Mitesh Gihwala, who is a property investment analyst based in Brisbane, Australia. As you can see, it's dark on his side, so he definitely couldn't speak to us after 5 South African time. Mitesh, thanks so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure, Wes. Thank you for the invite.
Let's jump straight into the meat. Tell us your story. Where do you come from? And maybe even outside of work, who is Mitesh Gihwala? Give us the backstory.
Sure. So I actually born and bred Cape Townian. Was born in Rylands. Went to school at Wynberg Boys, and then managed to get through to UCT. Studied property studies there, undergrad, postgrad. I did finance postgrad, and then managed to get into the Old Mutual Property graduate program. So that's actually where we met, Wes, many years ago. So the Old Mutual graduate program just sort of trained young people in property in terms of understanding investment in property. Old Mutual has quite a big portfolio of assets all across South Africa, and it's now global. So I spent about 10 years there. When we met, I think I was an asset manager at that time. But basically, after like 5, 6 years, graduated from progressed from an analyst to an asset manager. And then I spent probably about 5 years or so as an asset manager at Old Mutual. And then since then, took COVID. So we had always been wanting to immigrate. So the intent was in 2019 to emigrate to New Zealand. My wife got an opportunity at Deloitte in New Zealand, and we took the chance. We said, okay, let's go and let's see what it's all about, take an adventure. And COVID happened, so we ended up waiting for about 3 years in South Africa for the borders to open. So I used that time to try to finish up my CFA. I managed to do level 1, level 2. I still got level 3 on my back, like that monkey from what's that, Chicken Licken. I still got that. But yeah, after that, we had to restart and ended up getting an opportunity in Brisbane. Landed here about a year and a half ago. So we're still pretty fresh. They call it FOB, fresh off the boat or fresh off the plane. My accent hasn't changed yet, although there's certain words that do change. Like it's no longer car park; it's now car park, and a few other things that you got to say. The Aussies have a lot of shortened words for everything. They don't say afternoon; it's arvo and all of that. So you got to catch up on all of those things. But yeah, it's good to be here in Oz and living a different lifestyle, but missing Cape Town, missing the family also. We were there in December. It was lovely to be back, and beautiful Cape Town, beautiful weather, lovely people. But yeah, we're on an adventure.
So let's jump into that Australia trip. Like nobody moves to the other side of the world on a whim necessarily. And you did say
Yeah.
you tried New Zealand first, but why did you choose Australia? And talk us through how long it took you to decide. Okay, this is where we're gonna go.
Yeah, look here, I think with Australia, there's so many South Africans here, so it's quite easy to make that decision. But having said that, language is a big thing. It's similar language. They play the same sort of sports. It's not like you're going to go move to a country that's completely different in terms of culture, language. Like, if you're going to move to France, for instance, or Italy or somewhere else in Europe, Germany, etc., there's a huge cultural shift that you need to put yourself through to assimilate. Australia is pretty easy, culturally a little bit different, but very much similar also. So it's quite easy to make that decision. We actually didn't come and visit Australia before moving, but a little bit of advice I'd probably give to anybody who's considering immigration is definitely to talk to people who have moved over. We have this mindset thinking that it's green grass and roses on the other side, but there's a lot of sacrifice that comes with immigrating, whether it's career, family, friends, just personal time. There's lots of things that you take for granted in your home country that you have to sacrifice when you make that move. Uh, Australia is an easy move. The economy is big, especially in the property space. The property industry is very mature. It's quite different to South Africa in the sense that in South Africa, it's mainly institutions that are buying big assets. So if a shopping mall comes up for sale, it's only your big guys, your Liberties, your Growth Points, these type of guys, or mutuals that are doing the transactions because they can raise that capital. In Australia, the fund that I'm working for, we majority of our funds come from private investors. So these are people like your pensioners that just have capital. There's a big culture of investing in property in Australia. Everybody invests because it's been such a wealth generator for so many people here. So people are very happy to put in a big portion of their life savings into property because it's been performing for for decades, and it seems to continue to perform. So they put in a lot of money into property, and it's an easier sell as you put it. Yeah, so that was Australia. It's not a difficult place to settle in culturally, language, culture, that sort of thing. So you just need to be prepared to sacrifice from family, friends, food, etc. Yeah.
And how long does the whole move process take? And what learnings can you share with us from that moving process specifically? Because some people don't think that you actually have to move your life. So it's not just
Oh
you
yeah.
stop working here, you get on the plane, you get off the plane, you start working there. There's lots that needs to happen.
Yeah, yeah. No, I would say give yourself a year. You first need to apply for there's a long process. We got over, my wife got an opportunity with Deloitte. She worked for Deloitte in Cape Town, and she connected with the office here, and there was an opportunity. She interviewed, she was successful, so we came over on a skilled visa. So now, um, if you want to come over, you need to either have a job, meaning you've landed and you've interviewed it back in your home country and you've come over, or you need to apply for a skilled visa, which takes a couple of years to get, and then you can come over without a job. So, I mean, I'm not an immigration professional, but that's basic broadly how you can get into Australia. That visa process can take anywhere from 3 to 6 to 9 months. It took a bit longer for us. So we were waiting for the visa to be granted. And then when you get here, give yourself 3 to 6 months to settle in, understand the weather's different, the time zones are completely different. And then you need to get yourself out into the market and hopefully land a job soon. It took me 3 months and I managed to get something. But yeah, so probably a year, and it's quite an expensive process. Some people have set themselves back a good couple of 100,000 rand trying to get over because they've paid for advisors, they've paid for this, that, other, and there's a lot of people that people are desperate in South Africa. They want to get over because they have the mindset that you know what, that's where the grass is greener, and they put huge amounts. We're talking 500-600 rand
Sure.
to try to get over. So advisors charge that kind of money, and nothing's guaranteed in life. So you just be very wary. And coming back to Cape Town, I was there in December. It's beautiful. Cape Town is a beautiful, beautiful city. The people are lovely. It was so nice to be there. But having said that, it's a beautiful adventure being here in Brisbane also, and we're loving it. We're enjoying it. There's huge opportunities. The economy's big. There's lots of jobs. But yeah, a lot of sacrifice too.
And how does Australia compare to South Africa, let's say work-wise and lifestyle? Is it the same 9 to 5? Talk us through that.
Yeah, I think it depends on your role. Broadly, people say that there is a better lifestyle balance. Um, there's a saying here that, and I might be right, might be wrong, but Aussies uh, work to live as opposed to live to work. So work to live means they work, but the intent is to generate funds to live their lives and enjoy the important things in life. But yeah, it's different for everybody. I'm in quite a busy role. I'm in a transactions role, so it can be late nights and early mornings. My wife's also with Deloitte. She's loving it. There's great opportunities. The businesses are sophisticated, but with that comes a lot of responsibility. So you put in your time during your first few years here, but you will grow as a professional with time, and then get a better balance, I guess.
Okay. And if someone was watching this show and they're thinking of moving to Australia, what's their first port of call? Where do they go to first?
As I said earlier, I think probably just reach out to somebody that you trust, that doesn't have an agenda. Because if you're going to reach out to an advisor, his agenda is he wants to sell you his skill and his time. So reach out to someone who's gotten over there and ask them just bluntly, what's life like? What do you not like about it? What do you like about it? Be mentally prepared. There's a lot of people that have moved over here also that they where there were some troubles in their marriage or whatever the case may be. When you move over, those type of situations get exacerbated because there's no support structure here. You don't have your mum and your dad and your cousins and family members here to support you. It's just you, yourself, your wife, your partner, and your kids, and you guys must just make it happen. So yeah, it's good to chat to a few people and get the real truth about immigration. It's a tough road. It pulls the family together, um, but yeah, well, like any sacrifice, there's always rewards at the end of it. We hope.
Okay. For the audience, we'll be responding to questions towards the end, so please add your questions to the comment section now so that we don't miss them. I want to switch over a little bit to property. You've obviously worked for a long time in the property investment sector. Why did you choose that sector? Because it doesn't seem to be an industry that lots of people venture into. There's always a few, but it's not like everybody goes into, I don't know, investments, or everybody goes into something. Property seems a bit more niche.
Yeah. So for me, I've always had a passion with investing in property. So back in Cape Town, for me personally, what I love about property is it's an asset class that you can leverage. So leverage meaning I can use the bank's money to buy an asset. So if I wanted to buy R1 million apartment and put a tenant in there, I only need to put up whatever 200 grand for argument's sake, and I'm putting up 200 grand. I'm getting exposure to an asset of R1 million. So you can't go and do that with equity or with stocks because no, the bank's not going to give you R1,800,000 loan to put up that money. So you can use property as an asset class to generate real wealth, and people who have generated wealth over years, they tend to have a lot of property in their pool of assets. So I come from a family where we spoke a lot about property and investing in property. So that was my go-to. So I went into property investments at UCT and then got into Old Mutual. But in my personal capacity, also just try to invest in property and try to use that as a wealth generating tool. Yeah, so it's just been a big passion. It's a nice asset class to be in. It's dealing with a lot of people. You interact with a lot of people. You're always dealing with brands, and yeah, it's enjoyable.
Okay. And if someone is maybe interested in joining the property investment industry, where should they start? Should it be which companies offer opportunities, or should it be the universities that they look at?
Yeah, I actually I got contacted by a recent property graduate end of last year, and I would always say I had a colleague. She was young. She started working in my team about 6 years ago or so. But what she did was she was setting up in Joburg, and she just reached out to one of the heads at Old Mutual, literally just linked in her and sent her story. She's got a really nice story of where she comes from, her upbringing, very humble upbringing, but she's done amazing things. And through that process, she managed to get an interview at Old Mutual. And next thing, she was working at Old Mutual Property, and she was from Joburg. So, and she ended up in Cape Town. So I'll just say that best advice is reach out to other property businesses. If you're a graduate in property and you're wanting to get work experience, I personally got work experience when I was at UCT. I got some work experience with Investec, the private bank up in Johannesburg, just through one of the lecturers. But you've got to use your network, try to reach out to people who are experienced in the industry. You never know what levers they could pull, and use LinkedIn to your advantage. Use the filter, search for people who are in the industry, and just connect. People are willing to help. You got to just get out there and make it happen yourself. And yeah, I'm sure doors will open for you.
Great advice. You touched on it earlier, but I mean, you've completed CFA 1 and CFA 2. And so now, I mean, you focus on the property industry. Has CFA helped in your property career? Do you think CFA holds value if you're not, for example, in listed equities where most people go to study CFA?
Yeah, I would think, to be honest with you, if unless you're going to become a listed property analyst, it might be a bit of overkill, because we generally focus on property valuation, just as in valuing the actual physical property, as opposed to valuing the property stock, as in the growth point stock, which is more financial, in analyzing the financials. So it is a bit of an overkill. Even here in Australia, there were some people that didn't even know what a CFA was when I was interviewing. So it just shows you it's kind of overkill. Whereas if you in one of the investment businesses, asset managers, it's not a prerequisite, but it certainly sets you apart from other candidates. So it depends. If you wanted to get into one of the big asset managers in South Africa, I think a CFA could definitely set you apart to show you of a certain caliber. But in Australia, I don't think it's necessary. Yeah.
Okay. Let's move over to questions from the audience. I see some of them are coming through. I've got a question from Kevin who says, how did you convince the family to move?
Oh yeah, we actually tell you a little bit of a story. My wife never wanted to move. My whole point on moving was to ultimately get away from the rand. I'm going to be frank. Yeah, we were building up assets in South Africa, and I wanted to just broaden the investments. Get some assets offshore in other countries. My wife was never interested in immigrating until the little one was born. So when the kid's born, then you think your whole dynamic changed. We got a 5-year-old little boy, and yeah, after that she was all in. We used to stay in Kenilworth, and there was a shooting that happened at it used to be a Caltex opposite Casey, and this guy got shot on the forecourt. Literally got murdered on the forecourt, and we just said, "Wow, that was shocking." But there wasn't a reason for the move, but things were getting a bit heated and hectic. The biggest thing was kids. I think kids is the biggest motivation. You need something to motivate you when you on this side and you have your good days and your bad days, and kids definitely help you with that. Yeah.
Thanks for that question. I don't see any other questions coming through. Any last few words from you or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Yeah. I think the one thing I sometimes my wife was brought up in Atlantis. Similar upbringing. I also came from Rylands. Used to take a taxi to university. Managed to go through the NSFAS program to pay the fees and that sort of things at university. So it's just I ask her some days. I ask her, did you ever think when you were growing up that you'd be sitting in another country in some other part of the world, working for this company and doing these, working on these types of projects? And she says, never in a wildest dreams. And what you're doing here, waste, which is getting exposure. People, the benefit now for the younger generation is they get exposed to people who maybe have 15, 20 years on them in terms of experience, and shows them that, hey, there are people that actually look like you, they sound like you, but they are either other side of the world, or they're in this role that you can only dream to see yourself in. So you never know what your future might hold for you, but you just gotta stick to what you're focused on. If you academics, if you want to be good at business, and stick in that, and you never know what will happen. And you can see, look at Uwais, he's doing interviews every week now. So it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm very, very, very proud to see what you've managed to do with your channel here on LinkedIn, and I'm sure it's grown to YouTube and other platforms. But that's motivation and determination, and you get there eventually.
I think that's a great way for the show to end. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Mitesh, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.